Hi, this is George from the Return of the King channel. While I was working on my next video, I discovered something of interest. The period of time from the appearance of the Revelation 12 sign to the year of the rapture appears to be coded in the sign. But not only is the rapture coded in the sign, but the year of our return to rule and reign with Christ is also coded into the sign. You can't look at this coding by itself and predict the day of the rapture. But once you have a pretty good idea of when the rapture will occur, it becomes clear. And once the rapture happens, for those left behind, those seeking God, it will be very clear. Near the end of the video, I show the heavens on Yom Kippur 2029. In the heavens, you'll see the second coming of Christ as described in chapter 19 of the book of Revelation, the rider of the white horse. This is the view of the heavens on September 23, 2017 from Jerusalem at sunset. What you see here is what's known as the Revelation 12 sign. And a great sign appeared in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun, with the moon under her feet, and on her head a crown of 12 stars. Mercury, Mars, and Venus join the 9 stars of Leo to form the crown of 12 stars. She was pregnant and crying out in birth pains and the agony of giving birth. Jupiter, representing the child, spends 9 months in the body of Virgo before exiting the body in September, symbolizing the 9-month pregnancy. She gave birth to a male child, one who is to rule all the nations with a rod of iron. But her child was caught up, in Greek the word is harpazo, it means rapture, to God and to his throne. The male child is the Christian who is raptured up to God and his throne. In my last video, I went into detail on the meaning of the blood moon tetrad that occurred in 2014 and 2015. There's a link here to that video, and there will be a link at the end to better understand what they are about. Blood moons represent the atonement of Christ. Those who are covered by his blood, the Christians, will not go through the 7-year tribulation. They will be taken out by the rapture. Anyone who is not a believer in Christ at the time of the rapture will go through the 7-year tribulation, the nation of Israel and the rest of the world. The blood moons and sun alternate in the constellation of the Christian, Pisces. The last blood moon of the tetrad is in the constellation of the fishes, Pisces. From the last blood moon to the Revelation 12 sign, it's 726 days. The Revelation 12 sign, which appeared at the end of the Feast of Trumpets on 9/23/2017, is about the rapture of the Christian before the dragon, Satan, by means of the Antichrist and the beast system, can devour him. In Strong's Concordance, the numerical value of the word rapture in Greek, harpazo, is 726. The rapture did not occur in 2017 because the sign is pointing to sometime in the future. In order to warn of an up-and-coming event, signs must appear sometime before the event. In this case, the blood moons and the Revelation 12 sign appear at a time interval that is biblically meaningful. The last blood moon occurred on 9/27 to 9/28/2015, around the time of Tabernacles. It's exactly 7 years from the last blood moon to the Feast of Trumpets 2022, which begins at sunset on 9/27 and ends on sunset 9/29. 7 is a number of completion and spiritual perfection. The number 726 can be broken into 2 parts, 7 and 26. The 7 representing years, and the 26 is the numerical value of the name of God, Yahweh. In 7 years, indicated by the Revelation 12 sign, we will be meeting with God. From the Revelation 12 sign, it's exactly 5 years on the Jewish calendar from the Feast of Trumpets 2017 to the Feast of Trumpets 2022. The time period from the Revelation 12 sign to the rapture has significant biblical meaning. The age of grace is coming to a close. In the Greek language, the word grace has a numerical value of 725. In Strong's Concordance, the value of the word harpazo, rapture, is 726. The age of grace, 725, will be closed by the rapture, 726. This is the view of the heavens at sunset at the start of the Feast of Trumpets 2022. Jupiter, the man-child, the Christian from the Revelation 12 sign, is above the tail of the dragon. In the constellation of Pisces, the Christian. It has taken 5 years to arrive at this location from the day the Revelation 12 sign reached its fulfillment. The age of grace is about to come to a close. The last blood moon of the blood moon tetrad is in the same location as Jupiter. 7 years to the day on the Feast of Trumpets. The new moon, representing concealment at the start of the Feast of Trumpets 2022, is in the same location as was Jupiter 5 years prior when the Revelation 12 sign reached its fulfillment. The new moon in the Bible is when the moon is new, when it first becomes visible after not being seen for 1 to 2 days. The Feast of Trumpets begins with the sighting of the first thin sliver of the crescent moon. On the Feast of Trumpets 2022, all the planets are in a location that tells the story of the rapture and coming tribulation. At dawn on the Feast of Trumpets, Mars is located between the horns of Taurus, Christ the Judge. The ancient rabbis believe Mars, with its red color, represented bloodshed. The tribulation begins when the Lion of the tribe of Judah opens the 7 seals, releasing the 4 horsemen. Looking due east just before sunrise on the first day of the Feast of Trumpets from Jerusalem. The constellation of the Lion of the tribe of Judah is rising in the east along with Venus, the bright morning star, who represents Jesus. I, Jesus, have sent my angel to testify to you about these things for the churches. I am the root and the descendant of David, the bright morning star. The Spirit and the bride say, Come. Mercury representing the angels who testify to the church, and Michael and his angels who fight back against the dragon. It's Christ who starts the tribulation by opening the scroll and its 7 seals, releasing the 4 horsemen. From the Revelation 12 sign to the rapture, it's 5 years. From the Revelation 12 sign to our return with Christ, it's 12 years. Revelation 12:5 says this, She gave birth to a male child, one who is to rule all the nations with a rod of iron, but her child was caught up to God and his throne. In Revelation chapter 12, it's in verse 5 that we are told of the rapture of the male child. 12 years after the appearance of the Revelation 12 sign on Yom Kippur, we return to rule and reign with Christ. The number 12 in the Bible is the number of governmental perfection. 12 tribes, 12 apostles, etc. This verse, Revelation 12:5, appears to be yet another confirmation that the rapture will occur on the Feast of Trumpets 2022. This is the view of the heavens on Yom Kippur 2029, 12 years after the appearance of the Revelation 12 sign. This is the day Christ returns with the armies of heaven to destroy all those who have aligned themselves with the powers of darkness. Then I saw heaven opened, and behold, a white horse. The one sitting on it is called Faithful and True, and in righteousness he judges and makes war. On Yom Kippur, the Day of Atonement, we see in the constellation of the Atonement the moon representing Messiah, a dying goat with the tail of a fish, symbolic of Christ's atonement, paying the price to redeem the Christian whose symbol is the fish. In the center, we see the rider of the white horse, his bow pointed at the scorpion. The scorpion represents the Antichrist, who is to come from the tribe of Dan, and all those who have chosen to follow the beast, those who have taken the mark. His eyes are like a flame of fire, and on his head are many diadems, and he has a name written that no one knows but himself. He is clothed in a robe dipped in blood, and the name by which he is called is the Word of God. And the armies of heaven, arrayed in fine linen, white and pure, were following him on white horses. We are part of the armies of heaven. Notice where Jupiter is from the Revelation 12 sign. It's in almost the same location as it was on the day the Revelation 12 sign, which you see here, reached its fulfillment. Venus, the bright morning star, appears in the evening sky along with Jupiter. This scene of Christ returning appears in the evening sky as he is bringing the tribulation to an end. When the tribulation began, Venus was in the morning sky. When we look at these two verses, we see them symbolically represented in the heavens. We see the rider of the white horse with his bow pointed at the scorpion. On both sides of the scorpion, we see imagery of Christ and his armies surrounding the scorpion. To the left of the scorpion, we see the moon, representing Christ the Messiah, above the tail of the fish being the symbol of the Christian, Christ and his army, as we are part of the armies of heaven. To the right, we see Christ, the bright morning star, and Jupiter, representing the Christians who have been with Christ for 7 years in heaven, and who are now returning with Christ as part of the armies of heaven. And the armies of heaven were following him on white horses. In righteousness he judges and makes war. Mars, representing bloodshed, is in the constellation of judgment, Libra. Much blood will be spilled in this final battle. Then I saw an angel standing in the sun, and with a loud voice he called to all the birds that fly directly overhead, "Come, gather for the great supper of God." The angel standing in the sun is represented by the planet Mercury. It's too close to the sun to be seen when the sun rises in the morning. It's standing in the sun. And I saw the beast and the kings of the earth with their armies gathered to make war against him who was sitting on the horse and against his armies. And the beast was captured, and with it the false prophet, who in the presence had done the signs by which he deceived those who had received the mark of the beast and those who worshipped its image. These two were thrown alive into the lake of fire that burns with sulfur, and the rest were slain by the sword that came from the mouth of him who was sitting on the horse, and all the birds were gorged with their flesh. Saturn, representing Satan and his evil empire, is in the constellation of Taurus, Christ the judge. Christ will judge all who have come against him, those who have aligned themselves with the beast, those who have taken the mark. Every heavenly body takes part in the telling of the story of Christ's return as depicted in the book of Revelation, chapter 19. When Jesus was born and when he died, there is a very precise symbolic depiction of those events in the heavens. At the Rapture, on the Feast of Trumpets, we see similar symbolic depictions of the rapture and the start of the tribulation in the heavens. The signs in the heavens at the Rapture on the Feast of Trumpets are covered in my last video. If you haven't watched that video, here's the link. Everything I share with you is my opinion from my research. Thanks for watching.